What, right? Like, why does this particular thing flow over here? Because of the greater potential of this positive charge than the negative charge, negative pole. Now you might be wondering, what is the use of this particular north and south pole over here? So let me give you guys a clear brief of that particular thing. See, here we have got the positive, right? Here we got the negative, right? And let us assume that this is the north and this is the south, and we have got like this. You saw the similar thing in the previous slides, right? So we can say that they are mutually perpendicular to each other, right? Now, if you take a particular flow of if you take this particular positive charge greater than those of the negative charge, and this keeps, and we know that electrons are negatively charged, right? Electrons are negatively charged, and if you increase this particular thing, the electrons will definitely and or obviously flow towards this, right? Because we know that positive and negative charge attract each other, and minus and minus, these are minus, and negative they repel and they attract, right? So by increasing this particular thing, so by increasing this particular thing, right, by increasing the positive charge, you can actually bring this thing, but to, you can actually bend this, you can actually bend this flow of rays towards the positive charge. You got my point, right? You can actually bend the flow of rays towards the positive charge, right? Now let us go back to the diagram. So in this diagram, let me clear this off for you guys, right? So now I hope that you understood why does this flow of electron go to straight into the straight through the same line. The main reason is because we have managed to keep this both balanced, and these two, right? So you must so the points that need to be remembered in this particular case is that this magnetic effect and the electric field should be mutually perpendicular to each other, right? Okay, they must be mutually perpendicular to each other. And you can see the here cathode rays when the electric force equals to the magnetic force. And as I have told you guys previously, that this thing occurs when the electric field that is present over here is equivalent to the magnetic field. We can see the flow of electrons through a straight line. And when the electric field, like the electric field is greater than the magnetic field, we can see a deviation either over here or a deviation either over here in the flow of the electrons. So in order to the J.J. Thomson, as we saw previously, he was the scientist who proved that who managed to make this electric field and magnetic field equivalent, and he proved, and he managed to accomplish the task of passing the electrons through a straight line, right? Now let us move on. Okay, now let us now discuss about the drawbacks, some of the drawbacks, about this experiment. So what are the major drawbacks that you could discuss about his experiment are? So basically we'll study mainly about the properties of cathode rays initially, right? So let us now discuss about the properties of cathode rays. Properties of cathode rays, right? So we saw that first will be like they travel through a straight line. They travel through a straight line, right? The cathode rays always travel through a straight line. And next, the cathode rays produce a mechanical effect, right? We saw it previously, right? They produce a mechanical effect. You just need to remember the key points, right? Mechanical effect. The cathode rays produce a mechanical effect. And another important point, they are negatively charged, that we know, right? They are nothing but the flow of electrons. So they are negatively charged, right? Then, and the nature of cathode rays, another very important point is that, because you need to remember, because the anode rays that or the canal rays is just the same, but except this particular fourth difference. So the property of the cathode, the fourth property of cathode rays is that they do not depend on the medium of gas. So let me discuss this point a bit brief, right? So let me clear this off. So now let us, now if you see particularly over here, we can see that this particular gas is the particular gas that is present in this cathode ray tube doesn't even affect the flow of the electrons, right? So we must understand this point very clearly, that the gases that are present in the cathode ray tube does not affect the flow of the electrons. They always flow in the straight line. So the point can be written as the nature of the cathode rays does not depend upon the nature of the gas taken in the discharge tube. We know that this is the discharge tube, and the gas that is taken in the discharge tube doesn't even affect the nature of the flow of electrons, right? And we must also understand another point, that the this is the fifth point, right? And the mass of the mass of the cathode rays is less than the mass of the atoms from which they are formed, right? So you must remember this: the mass of the cathode rays is less than the mass of the atoms from which they are actually formed. So this is a very important point that you must remember. The mass of the cathode rays is very, very small as compared to the mass of the atoms from which they are formed, right? So now you might have observed this E by M ratio in your books, right? So let us discuss about this particular point a bit briefly, right? So now we know that J.J. Thomson, right? We know J.J. Thomson. He was the guy who discovered this, right? Who discovered the cathode ray experiment, and he also determined the value of E by M ratio. Okay, he determined the value of E by M ratio. He he was the guy who discovered the E by M ratio. So by this E by M ratio, he told that the E by M ratio is nothing but equivalent to 1.676 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kilograms. Now, so yep, let me move to the next slide. So by this E by M ratio, so we know that Mulliken was the guy who gave the mass of the mass of electron as 1.76 into 10 power 1.6 rather 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, right? So according to the E by M ratio, we get like the charge. E is nothing but the charge, and M is nothing but the mass. So we get like E by 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 equal to 1.76 into 10 power 11, right? This is coulomb per kg. So this is coulombs. So we get like E we get like M is nothing but 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 by 1.76 into 10 power 11, right? So what do we get finally? We get the mass of electron as 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kgs, right? So this is how we determine the mass of electron, right? So now let us discuss about some of the characteristics of electron. So we know the mass of electron as, so we must remember this point, like 1.1 by 8,000 1 by 1840 times the mass of the hydrogen atom. So this is nothing but 1 by 1840 times the mass of proton, right? They can be called the mass of protons, right? Hydrogen atoms are nothing but the protons, right? Now the absolute charge, the absolute mass of an atom will be nothing but the absolute mass of an electron is nothing but 1 AMU, right? Sorry, it's nothing but 1 by 1840 AMU, right? Now let us discuss about the charge. The charge of an electron is nothing but 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, and the absolute charge, right? This is nothing but the absolute. Now let us discuss about the relative charge. Relative charge of electron, right? Now the relative charge of the electron is nothing but -1. You know this, right? So the relative charge of an electron is nothing but -1. The absolute charge of an electron is nothing but -1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, right? The mass of an electron is nothing but 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kgs. The absolute mass of an electron is nothing but 1 by 1840 AMU, right? So this is all for now and from my side, and keep learning. Thank you for watching.